Hey y'all, I'm Jason from the Big Bear Homestead. And as Robin and I are getting things ready for the live stream, we want to take this opportunity to shine a spotlight on one of our sponsors. And this week, the spotlight is on LogOx. Now we're going to just talk about their forestry kit this week and how big of a force multiplier it has been on our homestead. LogOx decided to sponsor us last year when we were doing the overhaul on the front yard, when we were doing the Grow Foods Not Lawns project. They sent us this forestry kit, and let me tell you, this thing is worth its weight in gold. We wouldn't have been able to get everything done last year with falling the trees and cutting them up and getting them ready to be able to burn for firewood this year, hence this big pile behind me, if it wouldn't have been for the LogOx. Now this forestry toolkit has so many different aspects to it. You can roll logs, that has a T-bar that you can flip a log up so that way it raises it up off the ground, so that way you can cut it down in manageable size, so that way you can split it. One of my favorite things about this puppy is that you can take this handle just like this and pick up a log with ease. And it's so much easier to carry it this way. And then my other favorite part is to be able to, when you get to where you're going, throw that big old log out your way. Now we've done a complete review on the LogOx forestry toolkit, and we will leave that in the end screen after the live stream is over. If you guys heat your homes with wood, this is definitely the tool that you need to have. Their link is also in the description below, and Robin and I will be live in just a moment. Thank you guys for taking this opportunity to come by and check out our live stream tonight. And so while we're actually getting ready for the live stream, I want to take this opportunity and kind of give a special shout out to and shine the spotlight on one of our sponsors. And so this week we're going to sponsor on one of our sponsors. And this week we're going to shine the sponsor Pew 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 pew.
You and your pew pews.
Me and my pew pews. Major pew. So, welcome one and all in one. Welcome.
A weirdo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, YouTube is proud to bring to you the live stream champions of the world. I'm the Big Bear. She's the Mama Bear. And we are the Big Bear Homestead. You knew that was going to happen.
No, I really didn't. I would have warned y'all.
So,
how do you shine a sponsor?
yeah, I know, right? Well, I could not.
Just don't moon the sponsor. That was pretty funny.
I'm glad y'all like that. We're going to try to do that every week to show the folks that sponsor our channel a little bit of love beforehand. It's wood burning season. Everybody you see, Jess wearing a jacket, Broussard's wearing a jacket. So
Justin Rhodes had frost, really hard frost. We're all getting a little bit of frost here and there, so it's definitely getting cold enough for that.
And so it's time to start burning some wood. And the best tool that we have to offer Part 1 is the LogOx forestry kit. Makes life tremendous, a whole lot easier for everybody.
Hey, did you get a new light?
So, let's see. 2-family homestead, Mimsy's Garden Wanderlust, Naturally NC, Broussard, Homesteading House Pickers, Mama Z, The Naked Gardeners.
Mark Krieger.
Woo, that's enough of that. She's a hot mess.
He said, who's Justin Rhodes?
Duggan 1900, Mark Krieger. What's up, JJL Forge? Josh said they have had snow.
Even the B-Sards? What?
Huh?
I don't know.
Who said that?
The Broussards.
The Broussards.
The Broussards. Chris loves our LogOx.
See, there you go.
Couldn't see what oil is in the thumbnail.
Duh.
There's a picture.
Did
It's not just the bottle. There's a picture of something in there.
And we didn't really want you to see it all that well anyway, so that way you stick around for the oil section. Some people just want everything right out the way. All right. So, got pretty much everybody in the house. Hello, everybody in the house. I hope everybody is fat, happy, and sassy. Woo!
Look who's here.
LogOx is
Well,
in the house.
hello.
Hope you caught your commercial in the front part of the live stream, LogOx. It's so great to see you in the house. Got my LogOx hat. I absolutely, look, you guys have to buy.
Is this your first one or your second one?
I think this, look,
I
the
think
first
that's
one.
the second one.
The first one's gone.
one's like obliterated.
First one's gone. I tried to clean it, and it's gone. I wore the snot out of that hat. Love that hat. But what?
We didn't bring the bottle out here. Oops.
Get on the radio.
Bet that LogOx won't work on that huge piece of cherry we have at the end of the driveway. I don't know.
I don't know. Let me tell you something. And like I said in the beginning, I'm gonna link our review in the end screens for this. Look, I'm not even afraid to say this with LogOx in the room. Okay? I tried to break this thing. Just between us.
Hey, Cecilia.
Hey, LogOx, go like this for a second. I ran over it with my truck. I tried to break this thing.
Nope.
Okay?
Hey, Copper Kettle, what's up?
And it just didn't break. It's supposed to be only be able to flip up on the T-bar logs of a certain size. We pretty much doubled that size to the point where the little pokey thing was like, it was like this. And it handled it. And look, the LogOx came in our lives at a time where I was completely miserable. Because
I love the face. What?
I was completely miserable with life because this was before acupuncture, and I could go outside and I could be out there 15, 20 minutes tops, and then I'd be screaming in pain. And, a lot of it fell on Blaze's shoulders. And LogOx came in, and all of a sudden, because of how that tool works, not only was I able to bring the logs up comfortably for me to be able to run the chainsaw, I was also able to pick them up
and
carry them and toss them in the pile.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that was huge. That helped me kind of trim down in some weight and really started getting me moving, and it opened up a lot of doors. And they were like our second sponsor or our first. I think they were second. Our first was Baker Creek, I think. I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's either Baker Creek or LogOx was our first. I can't remember which one.
LogOx was first, but it might have been Baker Creek.
But if you heat with wood, you do anything with wood, and you're, let's just say, my age or older. I mean, even somebody Mama Z's age can get out there. And
what is that supposed to mean?
Just saying.
Picking on Mama Z.
You can get out there and...
Sydney's age.
Yeah. the LogOx could actually pick up the logs that are about the size of Sydney's head.
Oh, Lord.
With no problem. They could even go... I know it's hard to believe because Sydney got a big head. But they could pick up logs that are bigger than his head.
Oh, that's funny.
So, you probably strength-wise wouldn't... Before the LogOx would quit, you wouldn't be able to pick the log up weight-wise. Before he wouldn't be able to handle it. I'll put it like that.
I'm not that old.
So.
Now, the really cool thing is that is not the only thing that LogOx has.
Nope, it's not. And we're going to be... Okay, go ahead. I thought you was fixing to spill some beans.
I love how much credit you've been giving me lately. Basically, all I was going to say is that be watching because we'll be covering other products that they offer as well that have been just as much game changers as the forestry kit.
Yeah. So if you're interested in it, about an hour or so after this live stream is done, after it gets all processed and YouTube lets me put up the end screens, go ahead and check it out. If you don't want to wait that long, it is in our product review playlist. Go check it out. You can see all of the things that we did with that thing, the size of the logs, all of that.
There's even a really cool piece of footage, I think, on the GoPro. Like, you can actually see it roll the log from the GoPro. It's pretty cool. So, definitely check that out.
All right, so let's dive in to today's show. Paid some bills. So let's dive into today's show. So what we're going to talk about now, okay, as the Red Dragon, the what did they call it in the stand? Captain Trips, the virus or something, whatever. As that's coming around again and places are starting to lock down, we stand a good possibility on some of these lockdowns that your internet will go out. Your cable could go out.
Well, I even read, did you see, or no, we were watching it on YouTube. The guy was doing a what if scenario. And they started talking about, like, the internet charging you to be able to access information because it's always been free. And there's so many different things now that are starting to come down the pipeline that it's really not that far-fetched. Because, like, things like Amazon Prime used to be just a flat fee. Now you have to pay tax on it. All of your, like, add-on channels, now you have to add tax to it. Even YouTube itself, anybody who's a creator is now going to have to pay a royalty tax on their monetization. So, it's really not that far of a stretch to think that somewhere down the road, we might get taxed for using the internet. So that's another thing to consider is that it might be available, but you might not be able to afford it.
And I was looking at it from the route of everybody being sick or testing positive, and there wasn't nobody there to operate the ins and outs of it. So where do you go to get your information if you stumble across a problem with something that you're doing on your homestead, whether it's gardening, livestock, construction, whatever, because you can't get on YouTube and, nobody, the public libraries will be closed. So it's very good for you now to get a solid, what we can consider our Homestead Preparedness library.
Right.
And we're going to share with you today some of the books that are in our Preparedness library. Now, we're not going to talk about the Foxfire books because they're kind of like one of those like no-brainers. Everybody wants to have a Foxfire book.
And really, like, I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth about it. The Foxfire books, to me, yes, there are some great things in those, but they're meant to be read. Like, they're meant as like a storytelling book with some information along the way. Where the books that we're going to show you for the most part are very much information driven.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, let's start. Mark said, I'll just call you.
Let's start with what we consider the Homesteading Bible. Now, if you've ever been to our house and or our homestead, and this topic has come up, like what is, like, a lot of folks when they come here, they ask, Sydney and Tori were the most recent ones, they ask about, what type of homesteading books, do you have?
Yes, he says library.
Seriously?
Yes, everybody is saying it.
We're gonna argue about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin tonight.
It's a library. We got it.
Okay, a free bookstore. Anyway,
Free bookstore.
and the book that I'm about to share with you, if you've been around with us for any time and we've gone over this before, you know what book I'm getting ready to talk about. It's by an old Irish fella that was over I think he lived in England. His name is John Seymour. John Seymour. The title of his book is The Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It. It's a complete back-to-basics guide on homesteading. This is kind of what the cover looks like. Okay? And now ours did come with
It had a paper cover on it.
What do they call that? A jacket?
Jacket. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that's the back. I absolutely love this book. In this book, you
can get a pretty good start on this book. It'll give you a good broad idea of all the vegetables, of the different ways to set up your acreage.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of us are, a lot of you guys are moving. I know Sydney and Tori are looking for their forever homestead. I know, like, 180 Degrees is touring, looking for theirs. So there's a lot of people that are evacuating away from cities, trying to come to the more country life, stuff like that. One of my favorite things in this book is he breaks a homestead down to a 1 acre.
That's the 1 acre?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then a 5 acre. Okay? And the different things. And this is how you follow these plans. And it's supposed to give you the opportunity to be completely self-reliant. It has topics in there from hay, your vegetables in your garden,
and how to do like each season.
Yeah.
Like how, where to have everything, how to plant it, like all of that.
He's got a section on greenhouses. He's got a section on livestock where he breaks down like the pig and the cow. And he's a big advocate of having that. If you have a 1 acre homestead, you could support one dairy cow. But he does say you probably will have to bring in some hay. So it's really cool. Now, if you're on smaller acreage than a acre farm, then you just have to break it down.
Just have to scale it down.
Like if you're on in a neighborhood and on a 1/4 acre plot, well, pigs are out, cows are out, goats are out. Best you're going to be able to do is maybe some chickens and a big garden. Quail, stuff
rabbits,
like that. Maybe some rabbits, stuff like that. You just have to kind of switch your protein around. He's very big about bartering. He shows you stuff about brewing and fermenting and making different basically
crafts. There's different things in there.
Yeah,
winemaking. I mean, he even goes into like composting toilet.
Yes, composting
all
toilet,
of that.
Rainwater catchment. stuff like that.
Yeah, all of that. So, what do you want to do next? This is actually pretty.
I disagree, Broussard. Complete self-reliance. He says complete self-reliance is a pipe dream. Network with your like-minded neighbors for trading and bartering. I think I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree because certain people, you know, if you can't grow coffee, then you can either try to barter for coffee or just decide to live without it. It all comes down to different life choices. Because if, you know, let's just throw it out there and say the zombies come, you know, there's not going to be a lot of bartering and stuff like that. In the same way with a good solid lockdown comes, bartering is going to become the new black market. So you're going to have to be extremely careful with stuff like that. So it's all about choices.
Right.
You know. Now, which one do you want to talk about?
Talk about that one because there are a couple people that mentioned it already.
Okay. Another good book is from Reader's Digest, is the Back to Basics book. Now, we won this book. Blaze and I won this on Breakaway Homestead. He used to do... Now, let me tell you something about Breakaway Homestead.
And he hasn't done this in a while.
He hasn't done it in a while.
I have to get on to
But he used to do a live stream. It's probably because YouTube came down on him. But this man has a vinyl collection that has to be off the chain in value. And he used to break it down into genres where it'd be like rock, soft rock, you know, 80s rock, whatever. And then he'd have a bunch of... He would be sharing the statistics and all that stuff from the albums. And it was a great live stream. And he would play some of the hits back in there. And he would, you know, play pieces of them and stuff like that. And it was just an awesome live stream. And I think what happened is YouTube came down on him with copyright infringements.
Probably.
But just to be able to... And look, I guess maybe it's because I'm an 80s kid and I miss the white noise in my music. It made it so awesome. But... and so, bam, that's where we got this. I like this book also. This one goes into a little bit of different things. Like, we got our pattern for our coonskin cap out of this book. What else did we get out of here, honey? There's a lot of hosiery rugs, cooking with wood, making the bread.
It's just it's more like going back to the old-timey homesteading kind of things. Yeah. It's very dense. I mean, it is a Reader's Digest, so it is one of those. It is not one that you're going to read back to back. It's going to be, you pull out a chapter, look at it, you know, read it and go from there. Yeah. But it has, you know, buying and building your property, energy. There's definitely, I remember there's quite a bit of stuff about the wind. Yeah. In this, the art and science of soil improvement. That's a good one. There's a lot of really good saving seeds. I mean, there's definitely a comprehensive thing. It's just, it doesn't delve too far in. Like, it's just kind of a scratch the surface on some stuff. Other stuff, it's pretty in-depth, but some of it's kind of, there's some things in here that I don't, you know, I'm not really in on, but then there's some that I'm like, oh, I wish I knew more. So it's kind of it's definitely one to keep in your library. But, you know, it wouldn't be my end all be all. Yeah, it's more of a reference book. Exactly. I like this one. This was one of our first ones too. We got this around the same time that we got the Homestead Bible.
Now remember, all of these different books, each book, there's going to be a lot of information that kind of overlaps.
A lot.
Okay? Yeah. And as this movement grows, you're going to find more and more homesteading books out there in your Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. Definitely be kind of shopping on eBay and be looking around like that. I like to find some of the older homesteading books that, you look at the copyright date and grab one of the older ones that you can find and then compare it with one of the newer ones that you got. Because some of the stuff will overlap, but also some of the technology has changed, but some of that old stuff...
We've forgotten about it.
And because it's not using all of the technology and stuff, maybe a little bit more EMP resistant.
That's a good point. Yeah. Do you have them listed somewhere?
Yes.
I think we have a bunch of them in our Amazon store.
In our Amazon store underneath books, we pretty much got every last one of them listed.
So this next book is Barnyard in Your Backyard. Now, we got this when we were still living on 2.5 acres, and most of it was woods. We probably had about an acre of it that we could actually use. So this book, to me, is a little bit more of on a smaller scale. But it does talk about like sheep, goats, cattle, but it has a lot of information about the different, about like picking out the animal, what to look for, the general, like how they're built, what part, it's just a very good overall kind of, book just on animals. It's not stories, guide to raising rabbits or stories guide to raising pigs. It's more of just a general overview of the different animals, like your ducks and geese, rabbits, all of that stuff.
Okay, so I'm assuming that this is Tori from the Naked Garden. She said everyone should be doing more videos on homesteading. Next year is going to be big redo. All old videos.
It's going to be big.
Yeah.
Redo old videos for new subscribers. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things, I don't know if a lot of y'all noticed. Was that what you were getting ready to say?
No.
But a lot of older videos, YouTube is pushing right now.
Yeah.
Especially with us, and I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of our videos from like 2 years ago are coming up.
Yeah.
So this is one we bought and haven't really used a whole lot because it's a lot of repeat information. But this is one that I'm going to start really pulling out and starting to look at because like there's this whole section just on the pantry and how processing times for canning.
That's why we got that book, was because of the canning times thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Because this whole section right here is nothing but canning. Like from here, like it's a good bit. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but like that's a pretty good portion of the book is just one chapter's worth of the pantry and how to can and different processing times and all kinds of cool stuff. This also has a pretty comprehensive thing on how to do crafts. So like from the homesteading perspective of trying to be able to bring in revenue and things like that and barter items and, that kind of thing. So this book is called Homesteading. Backyard Guide to blah, 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 blah.
Now again, these books that we're sharing with you guys tonight they're not a sit down and read from cover to cover type of book. These are all what we consider our reference books, where we would go to them to look something up. Because at the end of the day, no matter how big the brain is on Brad, you're not going to be able to remember or recall all of the information out there when it comes to complete homesteading. And when things get kind of shut down and communication gets shut down, internet gets shut down, just because there's just nobody there to work it, and not necessarily work it, but anything that happens if a line goes down or something like that. There's not going to be anybody out there to repair it because everybody's going to be on mandatory lockdown. You're going to need this information. Which one do you want to talk about next?
I think this one and this one. I think those other ones are just kind of need to. This isn't really one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And this one's a different.
That's
concept.
preparedness.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh, it is Sydney.
She's telling him what to type. This next book I'm going to share with you was a gift from us. And
from us?
I mean,
For
it was
us.
a gift to us from some really good friends of ours. And this book, if you don't get any of the books that we talk about tonight, get the John Seymour book and get this book. Okay? This book is called How to Live on Almost Nothing and Have Plenty by Janet Chadwick. Okay? Now, this is an old book. It was originally copyrighted
Well, now
1979. Okay? And this book, you can kind of read it in the beginning, but it kind of has garden plans to how to lay out your garden, how to prepare your seed bed, how to start seeds inside, and in the back, it has page upon page upon page recipes. And the whole concept of this book is to only have, basically you have 2 wooden nickels in your pocket, but yet you're still living like a millionaire.
Norwegian Wood by Lars Minning is a great read and a terrific reference for anyone harvesting or heating with firewood. We'll have to look that one up.
We gotta find that book.
I thought Jason was going to hold up his Man Crushes book. Believe it or not, those to us are more once you start getting into livestock. That we're talking
they're
more
more
from
of a
like
business.
a home, right? We're
They're
talking more of a
business.
homesteading thing as opposed to doing it for profit.
Yeah. The Salatin books are more about being able to start a pasture poultry business, cow, a salad bar, beef business, those kinds of things. To be able to take your homestead and, I don't want to say the next level, because if that's not what you want to do, then it's not the next level.
It's not the next level.
It's not the next level. But if you want to make and turn your homestead, or go from a homestead to a farm to where you sell commercially, I guess is the best way to put it, then your pastured poultry, salad
those
bar
kind
beef,
of things come into play.
Those are books that you would definitely want to check out.
Right.
Okay.
Last one. So everybody, I'm pretty sure just about everybody in here is familiar with the Stories Guide to this, the Stories Guide to that. Well, this one is the Stories Basic Country Skills. Now, the reason why I like this is because it does start talking about self-reliance. Its focus is more on being able to take care of yourself and do your own thing. So, like, there's stuff in here about electricity, weatherproofing, heating, gardening, different things to do inside the house. There's pests and disease. There's different things for birds. There's building stuff, butterfly gardens. It's just a little bit of everything, but it's more based on, the different stuff to do around the house more than anything. There's a good chapter in here about cheese, about how to make cheese. There's ice cream, preserving. There's some butchering with some pretty decent pictures, stuff about freezing and canning, drying. Talks about apple cider. I mean, it's pretty much a good overview of your animals and stuff, but it really, the big portion of this book is about stuff, within the household. So that's Stories, Basic Country Skills, a Practical Guide to Self-Reliance.
Sherry, I don't know where you're seeing that at.
Well, she said that was a hardcover.
Yeah.
The paperback's like...
The paperback I found on Amazon is $16.
Good night, Tori. Good night, Sydney.
$16.
Yeah, it's a good... We actually... I don't know if y'all saw it up there earlier, but Broussard said something about having a lot of books, and that thanks to us, we sent him that book, and it was like $16, $17, something like that.
We gave that to him as a gift.
Yeah. So,
he
made a really good point. He said, with all of the stuff with the hurricanes and everything, he had a chance to really kind of be off grid and really see, because he wasn't on the internet very much. He didn't have a whole lot of access to that. So, he had a very good dry run of what that might look like. So,
yeah. All right. So, invest in books, in reading material that you can use as a reference. Mm-hmm. And look, there's also good magazines out there that you can go and subscribe to. You got the Backwoods Guide. You have Nikes. The ones I took from Doc's office. Sorry, Doc.
Backwood Basics or something.
Backwood Basics, something like Off Grid.
Yeah, there's a couple of good magazines.
There's some good magazines out there. You can actually even find them in Walmart. Now they're a little pricey, but they got some good reads. Mm-hmm.
She wrote 1773, not 1973. Anyway.
So you can. What we're trying to say is whoosh, go ahead and start beefing up your library, or your book reference shelf in your house, and you'll always have them, especially when you need them. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, that's how. Dadgummit, what's it called? It's not Captain Chaos, or what was the other one?
I don't know what
You're always trying to be prepared to counteract. What does Dave Ramsey call it?
Murphy's.
Is it Murphy's Law?
Yeah.
Might be Murphy, yeah. Because just when you think everything is good, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
So just when you think everything is good, and the internet goes out, that's when you're going to run into an issue with some type of bug in your garden. It's going to be something that's going to happen with your chickens. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to try to figure out how to fix it, because at the end of the day, those things are going to be uber important.
And another thing that I encourage you guys to do is, as you run into things, document it, journal it, write it down. Because there are going to be times where you're like, we had that one thing happen with those chickens. You remember that? No, I don't remember that. But if you go back and flip back through, you can definitely find that stuff if you've got it written down. I just ran into that with all of my planting. It was like, I remember there was something specific. And I went back through and looked at about this time last year, and I was like, oh, yeah. So definitely be documenting your journey as well, because you might find stuff that Backwoods Home Magazine, that's the one that we were talking about. Murphy built a bed in my shop.
Okay, so speaking of beds, how many of y'all sometimes, and give us, you know what, there's like 30 folks in here, we got 24 thumbs up. I need y'all to go ahead and smash that thumbs up for us. Let's get those thumbs up in there. But go ahead and give me the hands up emoji, the thumbs up emoji, or type yes. How many of y'all, just sometimes y'all have trouble getting to sleep? Or trouble staying asleep? Well, if that's the case, let me tell you something. Robin is going to hook you up.
Not really. I mean, yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work for people.
So, Robin is fixing to give y'all a little class on lavender essential oil. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, so last week we talked about lemon. And, there were a lot of people that told me that, that helped them a lot, because it's something that, a lot of people use lemon all the time. So lemon oil is not a hard jump. Well, lavender is kind of the same thing. A lot of us are familiar with lavender because it is a scent in just about anything. It's a hand soap scent. It's a dish soap scent. It's for laundry soap. Some of your Lysol sprays or disinfectant sprays have a lavender smell. So a lot of people aren't really hesitant to jump into lavender. So I figured that would be one that we could talk about today, because I'm trying to baby step y'all that have not used them before. So lavender is a little bit different than lemon. It is steam distilled. So, and where they actually get the oil from, this is actually kind of neat. If you've ever seen a lavender flower, it has little bitty hairs that are on the ends of the petals of the flower. And that's actually where they get the oil from. So the best time for them to pick the flowers is when they're completely open. Contrary to if you are using them just for smell, if you're using them just for fragrance, you actually want to pick them before the flowers open up. So that's kind of interesting that the different times of day are going to be the different, depending on what you're using them for, would be when you would pick it. And also, the thing with lavender is it's not just purple. Everybody thinks that, when you think of lavender, everybody thinks of the beautiful purple fields in Provence, France. Everybody thinks of that. Well, lavender can come in a whole bunch of colors. It actually comes in purple, pink, blue, and even yellow. So that's kind of interesting too. My goal is to have all 4 of those colors of lavender. I think that would be really cool. But there's no doubt in my mind, and just about anybody else that uses lavender, that it's the best oil, hands down, to be able to have in your supply. Because it can be used for just about anything, and it can be blended with just about anything. So, speaking of lavender, really it's one of those things, it's when in doubt, use lavender. It's probably going to help. Lavender is really helpful for so many different things that I'm sure we're going to have people that kind of pop in here and say what they use it for. But just to give you an overview, like Jason said, one is for insomnia. we've actually used lavender when we first started. We used to diffuse lavender before we would go to bed. And Jason would sleep through the night like a baby. No problem. Like a good baby, not a 2-week-old baby.
Not a baby with gas.
Yeah. So he would sleep through just about everything. Now, with my children, I could put lavender on the bottom of their feet. The 2 girls couldn't even make it to the bed before it would take effect. Blaze, on the other hand, we would put the lavender on his feet.
And he would go full retard for about 5 minutes. I mean, like somebody shot him out of a gun. He would come running in and jump from the door to our bed, spread eagle, just sprawled out, screaming, "I am Batman!" Mm-hmm. And then it would soon, but when it would kick in, he would drop. It was like he literally passed out.
Like narcolepsy.
Yeah.
He just like
I had to repair a hole in the drywall because he was walking to the bathroom when it hit, and thunk into the drywall he went, forehead print, boom, right there. Had to pick him up by his shorts, toss him in his bed, and so we pretty much stopped using lavender with that one.
Now, lavender can also be soothing. It's really good for the skin. So if you ever have a burn or sunburn or a rash, lavender can be used topically. It can be used neat, meaning it doesn't need to be watered down with any other... doesn't need to be diluted with coconut oil or anything like that. You can use it directly on the skin.
Unlike oregano.
And you can, you can use that to be able to, soothe those pains. Another thing that it's good for is anxiety. So, there are a lot of people that get into big crowds or they have certain things that set them off. Lavender can actually be, and that's the other thing is and I say this with all of the oils, if you like the smell of a particular oil, even if it doesn't have calming properties, it can be calming to you because it's something that you enjoy. On the contrary, if you don't like the smell of lavender, lavender's not going to help with anxiety. It's actually going to make it worse because you're not going to like the smell. So, and lavender is very fragrant because it is an essential oil. It is concentrated, so it is going to be very strong as far as the smell goes. So if it's something that you're not crazy about, this might not be an oil for you.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the whole anxiety thing, that's just not for humans. I've seen Practical Modern Homestead already mentioned this in the chat. She talks about how when the females are in heat, she puts it on the paws of her male dog to calm him down so he can sleep. That is no joke. Apollo, when he was alive, he would just get in moods. And the first time we did it, it knocked him slap out. Boom, he laid down. Then the next time he got wired up, Robin reached for the bottle.
Well, no, as soon as he smelled it.
As soon as he would smell it, he would try to run and hide because he knew what was getting ready to happen.
Because of that smell, he registered that smell meant
he's going to sleep.
Pass out.
Yep. And so he would...
What's up, Ricky?
He would actually... I would have to get involved, and he would jump up on the bed, and I'd have to make him lay down, and Robin would hit his paws with the lavender, and he knew it was over.
I had to start putting it on my hands, away from him in a different room, and then I'd have to come up and just grab his paws real quick. And that was the only way we could do it.
And then he would go over to, he would literally just go over to his bed. He would lay down. He would cut his eyes.
And then
he would go to sleep.
Pass out. Yeah.
Like, you took away my fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anxiety it definitely helps with. Another thing that it helps with is blood sugar.
Really?
So, yeah, something about the glucose, and maybe if Deanna's in here, she can help me butcher this, but, it helps I think it helps regulate glucose levels or something like that, or it's been there have been studies to show stuff to that, effect that using, because, there's people do like lavender cookies and lavender, they cook with lavender. But yeah, I've seen studies where they've shown that it can help with regulating blood sugar as well. Another thing is, so the biggest thing that I like about this whole thing with lavender is, right now we've been talking about all the craziness that's going on. And lavender has some serious properties that can be helpful right now. It is antiseptic, antibacterial, antimicrobial, and anti-inflammatory. Now, these are all things that right now with our immune systems that we want to kind of be paying attention to. It also helps with antioxidants, helps with oxidative stress in the bloodstream. So these are all different things to keep in mind. So a lot of people are using lavender in a lot of their cleaning stuff. So if you're making your own, Lysol spray, disinfectant spray, stuff like that, lavender is definitely something to stock up on to make sure that you're, using those properties wisely.
And in all honesty, guys, as stuff starts to get locked down, people's stress level's going to go up. Stress can eat away at your body's immune system for you to be able to fight off the bugs and the viruses and the stuff. So it's definitely something that you want to keep on hand to help lower your stress just for your immune system, health-wise.
We tend to put it on the Band-Aids that the kids get when the kids get boo-boos. Yeah, that's definitely one thing you can use it for. I've used it with frankincense when I had a 2nd-degree burn. And yeah, so Dee said it protects against oxidative stress, which is beneficial for balancing blood sugar levels. So there you go. I've also seen with oxidative stress it helping with the issues that happen with like dementia and things like that. So there's all different kinds of applications. The really cool thing that I want to kind of end with, because there's so many different things. It can help with PTSD. It can help with abuse victims. It can help with postpartum depression. There's so many different applications for this oil. It's also an antispasmodic. And the other one is antihistamine. So if you have a couple of things. Ladessa has had this happen before where she gets bit by ants or mosquitoes, and she gets quite a few in a very short period of time. And I'll use the lavender to kind of combat that whole histamine thing that she's, getting ready, to, because like when you have a whole lot of ant bites, like they start whelping up and getting huge and those kinds of things. So that's the thing that, I like to use it for that. Also with allergies, whenever seasonal allergies happen, if you use lavender, lemon, and peppermint together, that trio, that can help a lot with opening things up. It's anti-inflammatory, so you're gonna kind of, not gonna have any swelling, and so that there's all different applications for this, for this oil.
Okay, you have some questions. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between the oil and the Lavender Touch?
So Lavender Touch, and I'm assuming this is a doTERRA question, has already been pre-diluted to help with application. So when you have a bottle and you put a drop, it can only go, so far. But if it's got some coconut oil, it can kind of help to spread out the oil to cover more surface area. So that's kind of the application for that. That's the touch is different. And also the Lavender Touch is like a 10 milliliter roller ball, where the lavender bottle is a 15 milliliter, and that's concentrate. So it just kind of depends on I know a lot of people who will dilute their own. It just depends. For a lot of people, it's easier to just buy the Touch. And I'll tell you, there are certain oils where I would prefer the Touch, oregano being one of them, because then that way I can use that without worrying about it not being diluted enough. Okay. So hold on. So Two Family says, is the full strength better? The thing with the dilution stuff, they dilute it properly. So I don't know that it's better per se. The thing that Dee is saying is really the appropriate reasoning behind the Touch. It makes it safe for everybody to use. So then that way, if you have, younger children, especially like with the oregano, I don't have to worry about my kids putting the roller ball on their feet because I know it's been properly diluted and it's safe for them. What other questions?
Okay. Is it antiviral? Wanderlust wants to know.
No comment. I'll message you afterwards.
Okay. Will it help with blood pressure?
Is this a...
That's from City Girl.
Yeah, is this a... I don't know if it's a vasodilator. I would think so. Just from what I know of it, I would think that lavender helps with it. Because it's anti-inflammatory, I feel like, yes, it would. Dee, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I feel like it would help.
Does it help with ex-wife anxieties?
Asking for a friend. I saw that.
For a friend.
Any anxiety, as long as you like the smell of lavender. So were there any other questions?
I'm looking.
Ex-husband issues. yeah, that one too. Yes, okay. There you go. And so this is something that I encourage you guys. When you're learning about oils, it's very hard to memorize what oils are good for what. What I try to tell people is if you will learn the properties of an oil, a lot of times you can make jumps like that and say, yeah, it's a sedative, it's anti-inflammatory, it would make sense that it's good for this. So that's the thing, is I encourage you, if you have a hard time trying to remember what's good for what, it's a lot easier to just remember what kind of properties are associated with. Now, one thing that I do I've done before in my big long classes is I also try to give a little bit of a history. And a lot of times the reason, Jason used to always, I don't understand why you do that. But the reason why I used to do that is because if you can remember those little things, sometimes it'll trigger you to remember other stuff. So for instance, lavender has been used 2,500 years ago. Like it's been documented that it's been used even in
Jesus.
Egyptian mummification. Like they used it back then. The Romans used it in the bathhouses, and I've said this before. I feel like they didn't even know what they were doing at the time, but they used to use lavender in the bathhouses, and that actually is antibacterial. And so they were actually keeping things clean by having it in the bathhouses. I mean, you think about all these people going in and out of this water, you know, they didn't realize it, but kind of seems like to me that's how they were keeping everybody from getting sick. Another thing is, in Renaissance time, back during the plague, they actually used lavender during the plague. Now, it wasn't because it was anti this or anti that. It's actually an insect repellent. Okay? And, you know, the plague was caused by the lice on the rats, right?
The fleas.
Oh, the fleas. So, whatever. Little buggy things climbing on the big ratty things. So so the lavender actually repelled the little buggy things that were climbing on the big ratty things. And so that is more of what kind of helped with the spread of the plague. Even another one, and this is one that always helps me, is they used to put actual bunches of lavender out on walkways in back in like English times, like in the castles and all of the different, you know, all of the walkways. They would put those out, and then when guests would walk over them and crush them, it would release the fragrance. So that was another thing that was, you know, a lot of people would use for the smell. But the thing that I always try to remember is with lavender, lavender is something I always think of with cleaning stuff. So if you think of lavender being something that, you know, is a disinfectant, these different things, you can kind of jump from there on what you can use it for. So
now, one of the things that, you know, we're thinking hardcore about putting a composting toilet on our homestead. It will be away from the house. It'll have its own little shed, its own little area, like an outhouse. But lavender will be one of the things that we either have in containers on the inside, around it, stuff like that, to help, you know, kill the smell and stuff like that.
Yes, I have tried growing lavender. I have a little bit of it growing. It's a little difficult to grow around here. And I don't know if that's because of the soil that I'm using or watering. I have to do a little bit more of a deep dive on it to see, you know, was I planting it at the wrong time of year, that kind of thing. Yeah, lavender did not work for us for fleas. We were not successful. We even tried peppermint and a couple of other things, and it wasn't as... so you can drink it like in your tea. Yes, so lavender does have, at least the doTERRA version, I think even Young Living, a couple of the other big heavy hitters, the reputable companies. And I think I covered this last week with lemon. If you flip the bottle over and look, you will see it'll have nutritional facts on the back of the bottle. If it doesn't have nutritional facts, don't put it in your body.
And one of the things that we learned early on, if you're using doTERRA oils and you want to put it in your tea or cook with it or whatever, don't just put one drop, because it's such a high concentrate, it will overpower. Like we did it with peppermint with our coffee one time, and we couldn't drink the coffee.
Our mouths were on fire. It was so cold.
You just take like a toothpick, dip it in there, and then swirl it around in there, and that will be more than enough.
It's the soil. We have sandy, silty soil and can't grow it here. I've used composted soil. I think it might have to do with the watering. I'm finding that a lot of the stuff that I have issues with tends to be a watering issue. So we just got to work on some more micro irrigation and some watering things. Sorry, lavender tastes like crap when you drink it. That's my thoughts. Yeah, I mean, some people don't, you know. I know Carol uses it. Good night, Granny Frammy. Carol uses it on Gizmo's shampoo that she uses for him. Yeah. Yeah, 1 drop goes a long way. I'll tell you real quick story, and then we'll wrap it up and start talking about the last thing we have. We were making salsa, and I wanted to have cilantro in my salsa, but I completely forgot to buy cilantro. So I was like, oh, I've got cilantro oil. That's what I'll use. So I put 1 drop of cilantro in a big, I'm thinking, you know, this huge thing of avocado salsa. And I put the cilantro drop in there, and I am not kidding you, it's all we tasted. So cilantro is another one that you have to be super careful with the flavor. I just love the lemongrass to freshen the air and help keep the skeeters away. You know, another one, Fishes and Loaves, that I've liked is the citronella. The citronella smells really good. And that has been extremely effective for us with the mosquitoes. All right, Josh, have a good one. Built a watering system using a yard sprinkler and a timer. And senses the weather and all makes watering easy. So the thing with a sprinkler, and this is something that I've found too, is that the sprinkler gets a lot of the watering on the leaves. And that is, basil is a no-no too. That one is definitely a toothpick. The thing with the watering, getting the water on the leaves, at least here in the South, that's a big problem, because that's when you start creating, you know, fungus and a whole bunch of other headaches. So we like to water right at the base of the plant. And so I got a nice big long stick wand waterer, and I go down to where the roots are and spray there. So that's something we're going to try and work on, is a micro irrigation to be able to do that. So
all right, so if you guys have any other questions about essential oils or lavender, feel free to message us via the Facebook or the our email.
Cedarwood City Girl.
So that's a good way to be able to get a hold of Robin that way. So our last section tonight, it's going to be kind of in the homesteading preparedness genre, and it's the end of basically for some of you it's the end of the growing season. You guys have canned a lot of your food, and sometimes, you know, we're always putting food away, especially with everything that's going on. We're trying to get a stock up of everything that's going on. But I want to talk to you guys tonight about what's called the ORS system, okay? And it breaks down to organize, align, and rotate, or something like that. Anyway, we're going to be talking about labeling your acquire.
Organize, acquire, and rotate.
Organize, acquire, rotate. This is very important. You are definitely going to want to label your stuff that you're canning, not necessarily about what it is, but the date. You know, we take for granted that when we buy stuff from Walmart's or the Ingles or the Kroger's or the Piggly Wiggly. Oh, I love the Piggly Wiggly. There's just something about the Piggly Wiggly. Takes me straight back to when I was a youngin', you know, running around barefoot in South Georgia. You know,
it always makes me think of Porky the Pig.
Piggly Wiggly boy running around, and they always had, at least down there in South Georgia, they always had pork rinds up there for free samples and stuff, and I would just eat the mess out of them. And then sometimes you get ball peanut. Anyway, I digress. But we take for granted that they have these expiration dates or best used by dates on there. Now, granted, I'm not getting into a debate of whether or not they're legitimate or anything like that.
But they're definitely a good guideline.
They're a good guideline, and you also want to try to eat the food while it's still quote unquote the freshest.
Right.
Okay, and that's the same way with the stuff that you're growing and that you're putting away. You still want to eat, stuff that's fresh. If you just keep pushing things on the shelf, and the stuff that you can 3 years ago keeps going further and further and further to the back, you're never really going to get to it. But if you put all of your oldest stuff up front and your newest stuff in the back, okay, you are going to always have a fresh rotation in your recipes, in your pantry, because you're going to use the oldest stuff that you have first, which means at best you may be eating last year's stuff, but still, it's still good. It's still, it's still fresher than the stuff that you could go and buy in the grocery store.
Yes.
This week. But we learned about this system out of this book. It's called Just in Case. And obviously, the OR system is something pretty important because it's right within the first few pages. Now, the first few pages of every book is, the introduction, the copyright. I want to thank Billy Bob Eubanks and Leroy Jenkins for helping me write this book. Okay, and then they start to get into the meat, right? So it's the very first thing that that this author really starts to talk about in this book. And, it's something that you have to take very seriously. Now that a lot of us are really starting to focus on putting stuff up, stocking up on stuff, you can't just willy-nilly this stuff into your pantry, into your closets, up underneath your houses, in root cellars, or whatever. You've got to get it organized. Because the last thing that you really want to be doing is burning calories or wasting valuable time running around trying to find the first aid kit or trying to find that thing of rice to be able to go ahead and get dinner started. So when you're putting things away, you really need to get organized.
Get some Mormon friends.
One of the things that it suggests in this book is to do a purge. As we're all getting, because look, one thing about Captain Trips here, COVID, whatever you want to call it, it's forcing people that were on the fence to become preppers. It's forcing people that were on the fence to start that front yard, backyard garden. It's starting to get people to understand and realize that our system that is so complicated, but it's so fragile. And how in the world can one of the world's largest superpower can be completely broken in 3 days. And that's literally all your grocery stores have in stock for you is a 3-day supply. So if there is a run on the grocery stores, that 3 days gets knocked down to 1.
And so tell everybody the thing we saw with the Philadelphia Walmart.
Okay, on YouTube, I forget what it was titled, but you could probably find it in a search if you go looking for Philadelphia looted Walmart looters get Walmart in Philadelphia, something along those lines. I guess it was the manager or somebody there, after most of the looters were gone, walked in there and just filmed.
Had to do a walkthrough, right?
Filmed everything. Now this video is very educational. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Most people watch it just to see all of the destruction.
And because there was water pipes busted, there was all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was the place was turned upside down. But here's the funny thing. You walked into the electronics department, the shelves were bare. Everything was gone, from the TVs to Nintendo games to CDs, DVDs,
to phone
chargers,
battery supplies.
Everything in electronics was gone. Okay? In the clothing department, a lot of the different clothes and stuff were gone. You walked into the food side, wasn't much really touched.
Just the junk food.
Yeah, all the junk food and the candy and stuff like that was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes you kind of realize what's going to be kind of the things in order that's really going to go. Now, if you take that and you flip it to where everybody realizes that they're going to be locked down for a while, the very first thing last time that was gone was toilet paper, which I still cannot wrap my brain around that one.
Gotta have the food to do the poo.
So,
just saying. There you go. Philadelphia looting video. Go check that out after the live stream and see. Yes, Lost Dude, they didn't touch hardly any. When you see, it's towards the end of the video, he comes back around to where the food is, and like most of the food section had not even been touched.
Yeah.
No.
Again, I don't understand it. Don't try to understand it.
Yep.
But that's just one of those things that, okay.
Store in the back of your mind.
Store in the back of your mind that if it starts to go sideways, people start looting, the same people that are going after the electronics may realize that it's going sideways, and they may jump on the food. And those shelves were bare out of the electronics, and the rooters were in and out in less than 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. So if people realize that there's getting ready to be a food shortage and food is going to be hard to come by,
that could change.
The electronics can be left alone, and then the food could be gone in less than 45 minutes.
Yep.
Okay? Most of us that live out in the country, it takes us that long just to get there.
Wow.
Okay? So you guys have to do this. So organization is the key. Finding the space, getting things organized, purge to give yourself that extra shelving, that extra spot in the closet. If you have not worn that blouse that's got the shoulder pads in it from 1985, get rid of it. Now, if you're stuck in 1985 and you wear that thing 3 times a week, hey, more power to you. Keep it there. Okay? But if you haven't touched something clothing-wise within 6 months,
yes!
Get rid of it.
D, I'm the same way. I got a whole garbage bags full of socks waiting to become butt rags.
There you go.
Look, that's something we started talking about, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of clothes that we don't probably wear. And Jason will be like, oh, let's donate these. No. That needs to go over in that pile over there, because I would not mind wiping my butt with that.
Places that you don't normally think about. Under your bed.
Yep.
If you got an empty drawer in a filing cabinet.
Yeah.
There's always going to be little nooks and crannies in places of your house that the space is not really being used, that you could use to do some stuff with your organization. Stock some stuff up in there, whether it's flashlights, batteries, hand crank radios, bags of flour, bottles of bleach. Because look, Dee made that joke about, butt socks and butt rags, but you're gonna need some bleach to clean them.
Right, and that's something to think about. Is that a bunch of us have also, we've had this conversation before, but like, if you have your toilet and you have your shower like right there, like what is the problem?
Hey, don't be ashamed. Look, a lot of you guys, you're all smart like me. Okay? I know a lot of folks stress about the toilet paper. But it's very easy to get a chunk of hose, put a T-fitting on the tank for the water that fills your tank. Okay? Put a T on it. Put another hose on it. Put a spray hose on it.
Your own backwoods bidet.
Clean yourself right up.
Yeah, so Mimsy's garden, and that's a video we're going to have put out here pretty soon, is stock up on bottles of Everclear and essential oils, and you can make your own spray and sanitizer. We're working on that. We have a couple of videos coming out on different stuff like that. But yeah, you can certainly make your own disinfectants. You don't have to have Lysol. Lysol has been really hard to find over the last 6 months, and it is definitely one of those, that you want to make sure that you've got something that you can sanitize and disinfect with.
And the last thing that I'm going to talk about, because, Acquire is going out and getting a little bit each time. Add that extra $5 or $10 to your grocery budget to be able to get these things to be able to put away. Okay? And then rotate is obviously,
using the old stuff
stuff first. New stuff goes to the back. Okay.
And I mean, a good example of that, real quick, before we wind everything up, we just did our yearly batch of sauerkraut. We still have a couple of jars of sauerkraut from last year. Well, we have to make sure that when the girls are putting everything away, that we put the new stuff behind the old stuff, so we don't have, stuff from 2019 sitting back behind the 2020 stuff.
Yep.
So you definitely need to make sure that you're rotating, especially if you're doing a lot of canning. Definitely make sure that you have a way to rotate everything and keep it organized so that you're not pulling from something that was 2 or 3 years old,
right,
later down the road.
And so the last thing that I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be very brief, is you need to have a Preparedness Homestead journal / notebook. That way you can have a running stock, hard papered. Mm-hmm. Now look, I'm the first one to tell you, we do ours on Excel, and when we update it, we print it. So that way we have it in case the internet goes out or whatever. We can then go from it being on an Excel file to it being right there, hard copied, and we'll be able to not really miss a beat. It may take us, 30, 45 minutes to get everything transferred over for the next month by handwriting everything, but we won't miss a beat. And so stuff that's in that family preparedness notebook, I like to break it down into sections. I like to have we have stock on hand. I like to have a livestock section. I like to have my garden section with including the amount of seeds that we have. We also break that notebook down even further to other notebooks that what do you do in case of a fire? Mm-hmm. What do you do in case of loss of power? What do you do in case of a pandemic? So that way, if anything happens to mom or me, the girls can go straight to that notebook if the power goes out. And we have a checklist for them to run and go through before they just go full-blown, oh, it's the Russians and it was an EMP, and start going full John Rambo on the neighbors. They have a checklist that they have to go through. And these are things to do together as a family. Teenagers are kind of hard to kind of get them to sit down and do it with a little bit, but you're the parent. Make them sit down there and do it with you, because at the end of the day, it will save their lives, especially, doing fire drills. Have that meeting place. Look, be that butthole of a parent that wakes up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and sets the smoke alarm off and then have a stopwatch. And then walk your butt out to the meeting place and sit there and hold it until every person gets there.
Right.
And then after a certain amount of time, you have to start separating the people in your household. You go stand over there. You go stand over there. All of you are dead. Mm-hmm. Because you didn't want to play. Do you have an example? Example of what?
I love Practical Modern Homestead said just open the lavender oil bottle and the dog is fast asleep.
Yep. So while we're waiting for Morris Patch of Heaven Homestead to answer my question, she asked me to have an example. Example of what? We want to. We need a favor. Okay. I was contacted earlier today by Kyle from Trip H Farm. He's here in the chat. His aunt, right? Mm-hmm. Is
Nancy is her name.
Aunt Nancy is in ICU. She sounds like she whipped the COVID, or at least we thought she whipped the COVID, but it ended up making her get blood clots in her lungs, and we don't know. So, Kyle said that the doctor said nothing short of a miracle right now is what she needs. So we all know there's power in prayer. So if you guys could put her on y'all's prayer wall, your prayer list, your prayer tree, however you guys do it, when y'all go to church tomorrow, put her on y'all's prayer list at church. We all know there's power in prayer, and we all know more people bringing her up to, and it doesn't matter if you haven't read the new book. Those of you that are still stuck in the old book, you guys can pray too, and to lift not just her but his entire family in prayer. It gets dealing with a loss is hard, and it's never easy. We learned that firsthand this year here on our homestead in our family. And
please put Sean on your list that he gets his girls back tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's also been another battle. Two family, poor Cher hasn't seen her grandbabies in, I don't know, it seems like
since
6
July.
6 years. So put them on y'all's prayer list.
You have both of them now, even in Hebrew.
So
Nancy Hawthorne is her name.
Yeah, so if y'all could put Aunt Nancy on there, because look, we're all family, right? When we have a success, we rejoice together. But when we have pain or we have loss, we all grieve together. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes the grieving process a little bit easier, is when you have close people, like-minded people that can grieve with you. Mm-hmm. And they can share that, I don't want to call it a burden, but I don't know any other word, but they can share that weight with you, and it's just not as heavy. So y'all be praying for them that the Lord's will be done, and that if it's God's will to call Miss Nancy home, that the family is able to recognize that, accept that, and that they are able to remember that the Almighty is not just an almighty, powerful God, but He is an all-loving God. And that He loves us, and calling somebody home is a way for Him to show that love, because we don't know His plan.
Mm-hmm.
And He could be taking her home so that way she doesn't have to endure what's to come.
Mm-hmm. Pray for peace.
Pray for
and
peace.
Acceptance. Yep. Morris family, I think next week, or Morris Patch of Heaven, I think we will probably put that on our list for next week. Anna suggested we do emergency preparedness list, kind of a Q&A thing, and we can certainly talk about doing that for next week's show.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That's something that we can definitely do for next week's show.
So definitely be tuning in next Saturday. We'll bring out the notebooks and show you guys kind of what we have, what we use.
Mm-hmm. All right, our channel shout out for this week is a relatively small. Well, no, she's growing. She's growing by leaps and bounds right now. But she is uber talented. And any of you looking to build a website, get your website hosted, anything like that, y'all will need to go on over to Copper Kettle Farms, hook up with old Crystal, and talk to her. Now I've been leaning on her for her to put out more videos. Me and Mama Z both have been leaning on her for her to put out more videos, and she's starting to. But we are moving our hosting from the GoDaddy server to her server.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting the exact same thing that we were getting at GoDaddy with better, I believe with all my heart, I'm going to get better customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she backs up everything on a regular basis where GoDaddy did not.
You were responsible for your own.
And I'm going to be saving money.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I would much rather, even if I wasn't saving money.
Yes.
If I knew that money was going to her rather than to a big corporation, I would much rather do that.
Right. And she's a small business. She's located in Pennsylvania. So y'all going over there, show her some love. I know she's having great success with some of her shorts right now.
Mm-hmm.
They go live after Roots and Refuge on Sunday. Sometimes they sing, sometimes they don't. But they're
always entertaining.
They're always entertaining. Now, Mary S., have we done an update on the puppy? No, we have not.
Have we even told?
No, I don't. I think we told Jess and Jeremiah, and that was it.
Okay.
We were supposed to be getting the puppies from Fury and Buster. Fury had complications during the birthing process that she had to go in to get an emergency C-section. They delivered 10 puppies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
but they lost like 4 or 5 of them.
I'm gonna say they lost about half. Then Fury was having a hard time
nursing
and recovering from the emergency C-section. She tried to put those puppies over with Grace. Now Grace had her puppies a week beforehand. Wasn't a lot of colostrum, and pretty much the male puppies that were left deceased. They didn't make it. And so we are now in line, which we kind of really got an upgrade, in my opinion.
We still got the male sire.
We still got Buster, but Buster sired to a female that doesn't live with our breeder, but she's like friends with our breeder. But this female dog, I keep wanting to say that, but anyway, this female dog, she is ranked in the top 3 in the state of Georgia for search and rescue. She's full-blooded German, Roddy, and
first litter.
It's her first litter, and so we're getting a male from her, which is great for me because I may want to train, and I'm probably going to end up naming the dog Rambo. There's something about that one, that name that's kind of really sticking with me. I'm probably going to train Rambo also, or get Rambo trained to do search and rescue. What's so funny? What?
Your war face.
Huh?
Let me see your war face.
Oh, yeah. Plus, somebody shared with me a meme on Facebook.
I want to say it was Nathan.
It might have been Nathan from Sanson Farms. That it had Gunny from Full Metal Jacket leaning over, and it said, "Let me see your war face." And in the bottom, there was a Roddy, and he was like, so I keep telling Robin, I'm going to train Rambo to do that. And she's like, so what's his face going to look like? And I go, and for some reason, that's just hilarious to her.
Then you may have a stud in the house.
Yep.
It's the Marine in you. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. She's supposed to have her babies around the 21st of December, which means we won't see a puppy until February, beginning of February.
Yeah.
So, which is okay. It gives us a little bit more time to kind of get ready. One of the things that I was actually kind of okay with it was we were stressing about having the tree in the house with a brand new puppy.
There wasn't going to be a tree. There's going to be a Charlie Brown tree up on top of a bench somewhere. That's what we were going to have, because puppies and Christmas ornaments and stuff on trees, those things don't mix. Those things don't mix.
Anyway, so all right, well, once again, nice, long, informative
live stream. So, you guys, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us. Don't forget to check out the product review video that we'll put up as soon as YouTube allows us in the end screen of this live stream for LogOx. I'm telling you, that thing will that tool will change your life when it comes to putting up your firewood. Be kind to one another. I can't say that enough. Those of you that are close personal friends of ours, y'all know that we kind of had an incident yesterday with a neighbor here, and it really tested the whole be kind to one another, and I actually probably failed miserably at it. But there are some major reasons for that. But we still have to try to be kind to one another, because the powers that be, Mr. FBI guy that's listening in, definitely they don't want us to do that.
He said, no, remember, you're going to bolt it to the floor. No, you're going to hang it from the ceiling. Oh, y'all
really?
got jokes. Just remember, we're not going to have to water it. Yeah, so.
Be like Kyle, drink your milk. And y'all, thanks for coming by, hanging out with us. And Robin and I always remind you to plant smiles,
grow giggles,
and harvest the love, baby. Yeah. Y'all be kind to one another, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you for coming by. God bless, and y'all be safe.
Good night, y'all.